Market Foundation has bestowed Bonang Mohale with the prestigious Luminary Award in the recognition of inspirational individuals who have made an outstanding contribution to the principles of economic freedom and set an example to others. The CEO of Business Leadership South Africa is widely recognized as outstanding among his peers for his patriotism and drive to uplift all around him. But this happens amidst South Africa experiencing economic woes and leadership challenges both in the public and private sector. The author of Lift As You Rise, Mr. Bonang Mohale, joins us in the studio. Thank you very much for coming today.
Morena Colin, thank you for having me.
You must have done something very impressive for you to be recognized. Why do you think you deserve this award?
I still don't know. I'm humbled beyond words. I joined the company of Dr. Sem Mutsunyane, of Ndade Richard Maponya, of Dr. Ruel Koza, amongst others. I am the 10th Luminary recipient, and the function was held today in Sandton at about 12 o'clock, where most of my colleagues, friends and family joined me. So it is with great humility that I felt that this recognition probably is an encouragement, if anything, rather than a recognition of work already done, because I'm still young.
Mr. Mohale, let me quote from your speech when you were accepting this award. You are saying, stable democracies possess at least reasonably open market economies. No alternative way of managing the affairs of complex societies has proved workable. And here, you are talking about the aim to manage capitalism that supports democracy and democracy that supports capitalism. But you are saying today we are making a mess of this marriage. Is South Africa making a mess?
Oh, in fact, South Africa is doing much worse. So I chose as the topic of my acceptance speech this notion of democratizing capitalism at the time that the world is converging and disintegrating at the same time, where in South Africa the majority of our people have not personally benefited from the democracy dividend. But also when all of us are collectively accepting that we have not succeeded in eradicating the legacy of apartheid. And the proof points are there for all of us to see. First, the economy is on its knees. Secondly, young black graduates are roaming the streets hopelessly. Inequality is actually widening, but also racism is at an all-time high. Public schooling has collapsed. Public hospitals continue to fail the poor and the vulnerable. And absolutely crucial infrastructure is in decay. But the one that really keeps me awake at night is the fact that lawlessness has now become an epidemic.
Now, you are receiving this accolade at a time when there's a corporate scandal that has just hit Tonga Hewlett, and this now reminds one of blue-collar crime in the private sector. So why do you see that this sustained credibility deficit sort of is continuing to rear its head in the private sector?
So Tonga Hewlett is a member of Business Leadership South Africa. They, together with 86 CEOs, have gone to Alexander to relaunch this organization that was founded in 1960, before even I was born. They made a commitment to the 57.8 million South Africans. They also took an anti-corruption oath, which we called an integrity pledge. In that integrity pledge, we make 4 commitments. And we say to our members, if you choose not to comply with these 4 commitments, i.e. to just comply with all the laws of the land, you choose not to be a member of BLSA. Therefore, we are shocked. It is sad, tragic, and regrettable that business, instead of being exemplary and leading, they are also partaking in aiding and abetting state capture that has cost South Africa so much. They continue to participate in bribing, stealing, and cheating, and thereby, I think, advancing the cause of corruption, which is the biggest scourge, because it affects the poor disproportionately.
So this is aided by auditing companies as well. Should you be equally disappointed in what Deloitte is involved in following Steinhoff?
So first of all, we are on record that coming back from the launch in August of 2017, the first company that we suspended because they failed to live up to the expectations was a public sector company, KPMG, followed by Eskom and then Transnet. And then it was Bain, and the dominoes started falling from then on. But we suspended them, not expelled them, because we wanted, as Business Leadership South Africa, to work with them, roll our sleeves, ensure that we say, but what went wrong? Why did it go wrong? What are we doing about it? And how do we ensure that it never happens again? As a result, we have now accepted KPMG back and Eskom because of the 4 conditions that we put to the then president of the immediate past regime, because that's what it was. We were satisfied that they've done everything that needed to be done. So an accounting firm like KPMG, we've had some very critical, crucial, nonetheless, courageous conversations about what ethical leadership ought to look like and what does good like going forward. So we are doing a lot of work around issues of ethics, of morality, of principles, because it's not leadership to say, I've not been found by a court of law. We just want to make sure that questions are not even asked.
The SOEs have been plagued by resignation of CEOs. What do you say to that? I mean, like, given that the CEOs are throwing out their toys because they are mentioning the issue of lack of support, lack of funding, causing uncertainty, and also political meddling. What do you say about the issue of leadership concerning the independence of CEOs so that they can implement the strategies of the boards when they are saying that there is political meddling, so they would rather go if they cannot put their hands on the deck?
You see, at this rate, the state-owned enterprises and state-owned companies are proving to be slaughterhouse, especially for senior black executives. And when you look at all 700 of them, including the 2 whose CEO has just resigned, you realize that these are people with demonstrable track record, with upright conduct, who have done exceptionally well in their past roles and indeed careers, and they come and get slaughtered in our own SOEs. And for us, we are absolutely clear that the fundamental root cause is actually the shareholder. First and foremost, they don't understand this notion of role clarity and definition. What is the role of the shareholder? What is the role of the board? So that you can leave what then is the role of the executive. Secondly, they continue to be confused about whether these SOEs are going to be developmental only or commercial only, or maybe both developmental and commercial. Thirdly, in a world where there are only 2 types of companies, the quick and the dead, it can take 9 months just to make a decision. And then lastly, they are not giving the requisite support. Vuyani Jahana came in highly recommended, having done an amazing piece of work at Vodacom. He put his hand up to say, let me come and share what I've learned with South African Airways. The same with Pagamani Hadebe. I mean, this guy comes from National Treasury. We know the people that came from that era with a particular DNA. Went on to ABSA and then was called upon to come and fix the land bank at the time that it was at its most rotten. Fixed it successfully. He goes to Eskom and he finds that at Eskom there are probably 3 committees that are overlooking this. There's also the minister that speaks on it, and there's also National Treasury that speaks on it. It's the board. So you ask yourself, who's finally accountable? The poor guy had to look after what's in the best interest of his own health, to be removed from the place of work not once but twice by ambulance. It is absolute tragic.
Another issue is the proverbial resignation of parliamentarians. Are we in an era of leadership of pensions instead of leadership of serving the people, where we are having this discussion that's ongoing about people securing their interest, because if they don't resign now, they are likely to benefit from substantial pension payouts?
But you see, when people went to the struggle, it was almost self-selecting, because you could get killed, your family could be wiped out. So only those absolutely committed to the cause went on. Now it has become a career. That's why people look at this and they do pure economics. Our pension rule says the risk stays with the employer because it's a defined benefit fund. Therefore, it is calculated on the last salary you were on. It's simply a percentage of that. Therefore, people look at this and they do a simple calculation, say, am I going to retire on this or am I going to retire on that? So this is perfectly normal. It has happened before on numerous occasions when people look after their own best interest, self-centered rather than the other-centered.
You're parting short. Should South Africans trust leaders in the public and private sector?
I think leadership is leadership irrespective of where it is. It is based on some sort of a compelling vision, on courage, but also on integrity. What we need is to ensure that we continue to help our people to be better able to see around corners so that they can always ask the question, so what else is missing? Ethical leadership is about ensuring that we are genuinely obsessed with the development of others, lifting as we rise, to learn from nature, because nature is a wonderful metaphor for business. Nature does nothing for itself. That's why rivers don't drink their own water. Trees don't eat their own fruit. And indeed, the sun does not shine because itself needs the heat. Flowers don't give off the fragrances because they want to smell like Fontainebleau. They do it for others. I think leadership is about genuinely looking outside and saying, how do I lift as I rise?
Mr. Mohale, thank you very much for making time to speak to us.
Okay,